Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and immediately felt disappointed? Not because anything had changed overnight, but because your mind instantly found something wrong. Maybe your skin, maybe your nose, maybe your smile, maybe nothing specific at all, just the feeling that you somehow weren't enough. Here's something that might surprise you. That feeling probably didn't begin in the mirror. It began inside your brain. Because your brain is not a camera. It is an interpreter. Every second, it decides what deserves your attention and what should be ignored. And if you've spent years believing you're not attractive enough, your brain becomes incredibly efficient at proving you right. Daniel had no idea this was happening to him. Every morning before work, he stopped in front of the bathroom mirror. At first, it lasted only a few seconds. Brush his hair, straighten his shirt, make sure everything looked normal. But over time, those few seconds became a ritual. He leaned closer, checked the shape of his face, looked at the shadows beneath his eyes, compared one side of his face with the other. Some mornings he changed his hairstyle 3 times, not because it looked bad, because nothing ever looked good enough. The strange part was what happened after he left home. Nobody reacted the way he expected. People smiled, coworkers enjoyed talking to him. His friends never mentioned the flaws he obsessed over, but Daniel couldn't believe them. Surely they noticed. Surely they were simply too polite to say anything. He trusted the mirror more than the people around him. Until one ordinary afternoon changed everything. Walking home, Daniel passed a coffee shop. For a split second, he noticed his reflection in the large glass window. He stopped. Something felt wrong. That doesn't even look like me. He stared for another moment. It wasn't ugly. It was unfamiliar. The image looked different from the one he saw every morning. Different angle, different lighting, different proportions. That evening, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about it. Which version was real? The bathroom mirror? His phone camera? The cafe window? The answer, surprisingly, was none of them. Every one of those images was incomplete. Your bathroom mirror reverses your face. Your phone camera compresses depth. Different lenses stretch different features. Lighting alone can completely change the shape of your nose, jaw, and eyes. Yet your brain quietly accepts every distorted version as absolute truth. It never asks, could this image be misleading? Instead, it asks, how does this confirm what I already believe? That question changed everything, because Daniel realized he had never actually seen himself the way other people did. No one else saw him frozen under bathroom lights. They saw him walking, talking, laughing, listening, thinking, moving naturally through the world. Human beings don't fall in love with photographs. They connect with presence, with warmth, with expression, with energy. Yet Daniel spent years judging himself using the one version nobody else experienced. The more he learned, the stranger it became. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain constantly filters information before you're even aware of it. You never see objective reality. You see what your brain predicts is important. If you believe you're attractive, your brain notices confirming evidence. If you believe you're unattractive, it does exactly the same thing. Only now it searches for imperfections. That process is called attentional bias. It exists to protect us. Thousands of years ago, quickly noticing danger helped our ancestors survive. Today, the same system often mistakes harmless imperfections for serious threats. Daniel's brain wasn't trying to hurt him. It was trying to protect him from rejection. Unfortunately, it had become far too sensitive. Instead of seeing an entire face, it zoomed in on tiny details. A blemish became enormous. A wrinkle became permanent. A tired expression became his entire identity. The more attention he gave those flaws, the stronger those neural pathways became. Criticism slowly turned into habit, and habits eventually feel like truth. Several weeks later, Daniel found an old vacation photo while cleaning his phone. He smiled, then laughed. He remembered deleting almost every picture from that trip because he thought he looked terrible. Looking at the same photo now, he couldn't understand why. He looked relaxed, healthy, happy. The flaws that once seemed impossible to ignore had almost disappeared. Not because the photo changed, because his emotional state had. Time had removed the anxiety attached to that memory. For the first time, Daniel understood something psychologists have repeated for decades. Your self-image isn't built from your appearance alone. It's built from the emotions attached to your appearance. Fear changes perception. Stress changes perception. Shame changes perception. Sometimes you aren't seeing yourself. You're seeing your anxiety wearing your face. That realization inspired Daniel to try a simple experiment. Every morning for 1 month, he would stand in front of the mirror for 30 seconds. But this time there was one rule. No searching, no judging, no comparing, just looking. The first few mornings felt almost impossible. His brain immediately wanted to return to its old routine. Check your skin, look at your nose, compare your jawline, find something wrong. Instead of obeying those thoughts, Daniel took one slow breath, then another. Finally, he smiled. Not because he suddenly loved his appearance, because he wanted to observe what happened next. Within seconds, his shoulders relaxed, his breathing slowed, the muscles around his eyes softened. This wasn't positive thinking, it was biology. Scientists call it the facial feedback effect. Your facial muscles continuously send signals back to your brain. A genuine smile tells your nervous system that the environment is safe. Your brain responds by reducing stress and increasing positive emotional processing. In other words, your body can change your mind. Daniel wasn't trying to become more handsome. He was teaching his brain that seeing himself wasn't dangerous anymore. Slowly, his mornings changed. He stopped checking every reflective surface. He stopped deleting every selfie immediately. He spent less time fixing himself and more time living. One weekend, he visited his grandmother. She opened an old family album. Daniel immediately noticed something. His grandfather had the same smile. His mother had the same eyes. His great-grandfather had the same nose he had spent years criticizing. Those features suddenly looked different. Not because they became more attractive, because they finally had meaning. His face wasn't random, it was inherited. Every feature had survived generations before reaching him. His appearance wasn't a collection of mistakes. It was history written in skin and bone. That realization replaced embarrassment with gratitude. Daniel stopped asking, "Why don't I look perfect?" Instead, he asked, "What stories do these features carry?" The answer mattered far more. Then another realization arrived. When he thought about the people he loved most, he couldn't remember every detail of their faces. He remembered their laughter, their kindness, the calm they brought into a room, the way they listened, their presence. Why would other people remember him differently? Most people aren't examining your face. They're worrying about their own. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. Everyone believes they're being watched far more closely than they actually are. The spotlight mostly exists inside our own imagination. Daniel had spent years performing for an audience that barely existed. Social media only made that illusion stronger. Every scroll showed another perfect face, another perfect vacation, another perfect smile. His brain forgot one important truth. Those weren't ordinary moments. They were selected moments, edited moments, filtered moments. He had been comparing his everyday reality with someone else's highlight reel. No wonder he always felt behind. So Daniel made a quiet decision. He would stop waiting until he looked perfect before allowing himself to enjoy life. He stopped hiding from cameras, stopped apologizing with his posture, stopped assuming everyone was judging him. Instead of asking, "How do I look?" he started asking, "How do I want people to feel when they're around me?" That single question changed his attention. And wherever attention goes, the brain follows. Months later, Daniel stood before the same bathroom mirror. Nothing had changed. The mirror was still old. The lighting was still harsh. His face looked almost identical. But the battle was over. He wasn't searching anymore. He was simply seeing. For the first time in years, his reflection felt familiar. Not because he became perfect, because he stopped treating himself like a problem that needed solving. Your reflection has never been your enemy. Sometimes your brain simply learned the wrong story. The beautiful thing about the brain is that every story can be rewritten. One thought, one habit, one morning at a time. So the next time you stand in front of a mirror, don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask something far more powerful. What if I've been believing a story my brain created instead of the truth? Because maybe the person you've spent years trying to fix was already enough. If this story spoke to you, leave one word in the comments. Enough. And remember, the relationship you build with yourself will always last longer than the reflection staring back at you.